It all started in 1987. I worked for Mike Cleary in the National Athletic Directors Association. Mike came into my office one day and he said, "Did you ever hear of the National Football Foundation?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You know, it's funny, there's no chapter in all of Northeastern Ohio." We chartered in 1988 and we held our first banquet in 1989. Northeastern Ohio is maybe the hotbed of football in the country. The Hall of Fame is in Northeastern Ohio. The professional game began there. The NFL began there. You've got the Browns, you've got Paul Brown, you've got Maslin McKinley, St. Ignatius St. Ed, Ursuline Mooney. You've got Youngstown State and everything that Jim Tressel has done down there. The Mountain Union and what Larry Karras and now his son Vince have done at Mount Union. You've got everything that Paul Brown brought to the table. And if you went back and looked at all the contributions that Northeastern Ohio has made to the sport of football, it would be staggering.
First, you know, you think of high school football here. When I was young, there was no doubt that this quadrant of the state had the best high school football. And I think of, you know, Paul Brown and his influence on high school football at Maslin, and how Maslin was a great high school program, and the All-American Conference that Maslin was a part of, along with McKinley and Alliance, this town, Warren Harding, East Liverpool, a group of teams, you know, the cities that were larger cities at the time, and how important football was to each of those cities. So there's a great history of football. Football has made a tremendous impact in the lives of many young men, both high school and intercollegiate players. So no doubt the foundation that honors these young men today it's a very important thing that the foundation does to continue to recognize great high school student athletes and college student athletes.
Mike has always been helpful. He was there whenever I needed him. I think Mike Cleary is probably the greatest advice giver that I've ever encountered, and I will bet you that if you talk to anyone who's worked with him or for him, they might say the same thing.
The role that a coach has in aiding in the total development of a young man from 18 and 19 through 23 is really important. It's become increasingly important as I talk to coaches around the country.
Probably my greatest mentor, and a guy who helped change my life, who is no longer with us, is Bob Packard. He was the longtime coach at Baldwin Wallace, and you know, being a kid from inner city Cleveland, I got a look from some of the colleges, and I'm not sure how many of those colleges really intended me to go and be successful. Coach Packard gave me a chance to really do something great. He believed in me when I think a lot of other people didn't, and I really thank him for a lot of things that have come to me since football, and he in many ways was like a father to me during that time. I believe football teaches people more about life than just about every other sport. I think when you do other things such as baseball and basketball and some of the other major sports, you have to be highly skilled. You know, it's hard to be a great basketball player if you can't shoot. It's hard to be a great baseball player if you can't throw a ball or you can't bat. But I feel like in football there's a space for everybody, and I think that's the story of life. People, you know, if you work hard and you can make your own way.
Football teaches things that you cannot learn in a classroom, and you cannot learn from a textbook, nor from a professor. The lessons of life that will carry with you the rest of your life. You learn how to win and how to lose, and for the rest of your life, you're going to win some and lose some. You learn those lessons on a football field.
It's critical that we gather, we get together, we're reminded you know, that it's still our job to help young men who enjoy the game of football recognize the importance of balancing their lives as students and athletes.
My message is this. My last program, O.J. Santiago, Lee Evans, Robert Smith, Ted Ginn Jr., Mike Vrabel, who just got a head coaching job in the NFL, Tony Gonzalez, Brad Smith, Roy Hall, Doug Dadish, and Dante Whitmer. We put those players on the cover of the banquet program. And the message to the young people who are going to be receiving this year's awards is look at these. Look at these individuals. You are on your way to becoming what they have become.